minutes, every money that he has were siphoned out of his account. It's that easy now. How many of you are receiving scams messages in your phone? Walang tigil. Can you imagine somebody send me a message? Congratulations, Francis. Just click onto the link and we will hire you. Hire you. Next, climate risk. What effect does climate has? The supply of food all over the world. Trust me, you may be listening for me now, but I'm going to tell you, the next valuable resource will be water. That's going to be very important. Next, AI, robotics, IoT, Internet of Things, or the Internet black hole. AI and automation now replacing humans, the threat to the workplace. Next, financial instability. Ano po yun? Legacy programs and retirements are no longer enough. And so, yung mga SSS, GSIS retirement programs might not be enough. Can you live off the retirement? No way, di ba? Alam mo ba bakit? Ayaw mamatay yung tao eh. So habang buhay yung tao, you can keep on giving out benefits, and so that's going to be challenging. Next, geopolitical risk. Do I still have to say anything about that? Currently, we are facing that right now. Doha is at the very center of the things. This is why we have to respect this country. And by the way, if you are working here in Qatar, you have to be a blessing wherever you go, right? So you don't be a problem when you are in another country, but you be a blessing as well. So we have to pay respect to the preference of this government by not, because we have marami tayong mga kasama, dapat they're going to be doing some dance numbers. But this is not the time for festivities. So we have to respect that as well. Next, pandemic and health risk. There was a time when I was so inspired with Bill Gates. Now I hate watching Bill Gates. He has nothing to say, but there's going to be the next pandemic. Switch channel. So, no. The first time I was doing Fritz Repo, and we called it OF Winners at that time, was we probably traveled 17 cities, and it was done in 26 days. It was very exhausting for me, but it was very rewarding, because within the space of 2011 until now, there are many success stories that I have seen. In Madrid, we were in Geneva and Madrid 2 weeks ago. Because why we're still struggling with jet lag. And one of the members of Rich Trebo stood up and said, "Sir, naalala ko po nung araw, when I first heard you, galit na galit ako." She was so upset. I said, "Why?" Because I was forced to attend. I can't refuse my friend who invited me. Sabi ko, "But why were you upset that you were not that you attended?" Sabi ko, "Because she put me away from an important thing I was doing." Sabi ko, "What were you doing?" Tong eats. So tong eats and tong eats. So iniwan niya tong eats. Please explain to our foreign friends what tong eats is. Very difficult to explain. It's gambling. And then sabi niya, but when she attended, there was something that clicked in her mind. She says, maybe what the speaker is saying is true after all. So she decided to make a decision. Last time in Madrid, about 2 weeks ago, just like the testimony earlier, she was talking about her properties, and she's now a leader. She continues to teach and share the blessing also with other people. Are you happy you have success stories? Yes. I'm not. You know what? There were thousands who attended. What happened to the rest? Makes you understand. If somebody can do it, why not everybody? Well, I'm sure those who have attended went back to doing tong eats. Nakakatabuhay. How many of you do trading? Rest of the time, we have people from the consultancy company. Have you ever had this experience? train them on train. I keep on training, but these guys are so hard-headed, no change that I see in them. So when people come to me and say, Sir Francis, you're a professional speaker, you're a professional trainer. Why is it that you keep on doing your best to train people and yet you don't see any change in them? Well, my response is, one, chill. Number two, you and I can only teach. We cannot make people learn. That's exactly the reason why there's a popular phrase that goes this way. The moment the student is ready, the teacher appears. Without which, you can't force people to change. That's why Mahatma Gandhi says, you want to be the change you want to see in the world. You cannot change people. It all depends on your mind to make a determination to try it out and make a change for the better. Or today, well, you laugh at my jokes and you feel inspired and then you go out this room, you go back to dog eats. I don't know. That's why I may be happy because we have success stories, but I've always wondered what happened to the rest of them. Well, history is a good teacher. Hindsight is 20/20 vision. I can continue. Would you mind if I kiss you again? Well, 12 years ago, Fitzgerald brought me with a request for me to share ideas on how to achieve success for life and business. And this is the reason why I accepted. You remember Ted and Terrence, the founder? Do you remember? You love story to that. They, together with some of the leaders of Fridge, they went to Manila and attended my leadership seminar. My company represents John Maxwell's leadership training programs for 10 years. They attended that one. And then Terrence approached me and said, Sir Francis, we would love that to bring you all over Europe so that we can also train the people. My immediate response was this. I said, but I can't do that. I'm not allowed to sell. Why? Your competitors are all my clients. How can I promote your products? He says, no, Sir Francis, we don't want you to sell. As a matter of fact, we want you to just talk about ideas, what we've been hearing for the 2 days that we have had with you. And maybe that's the reason why I accepted. Because the nobility of the purpose is very nice. I would be staking my reputation on something. You know how long it took me to build this reputation and reliability? That's why I'm still with them. So the first time I started was 11 years ago. Maybe the next time I will be back with them is 10 years later. By that time, I will be introduced this way. Here comes our speaker, Francisco. How are you? So, during the last 12 years, we have witnessed the following. Yolanda in 2013, Ompong in 2018, Taal volcano eruption in 2020, COVID-19 pandemic like many countries. Life is a combination of triumphs and tragedies. And no one can escape this fact, correct? Now, let's take a look at the world scene. What feeds the Philippine economy is you and BPO. Thank you for your service. It's the dollar remittances that you keep on sending to the country that keeps the economy afloat. Why? Because the Philippines is a consumption economy. We are not manufacturing. We are not even tech. We're not even finances. We are consuming. And so you continue to send forth your dollar remittances. And that's why I want to thank you for your service. Without which, we're going to go down. The good news is what I received yesterday. The last quarter of this year with a very, very good showing in our GDP. So we achieved almost 6%. Although the target is 7.5, maybe we can get there. We don't know. Why? Other countries are suffering with their economic situation. Every reason to be thankful for. Next, the contribution of the growing BPO sector. So, there was a time when India dominated the call center industry. Do we have anybody here from India? I just want you to know, I am now doing a lot of training for Indian companies today. Are you familiar with the local company called Splash? Or Talesa? It's now owned totally by an Indian company called Wipro. Now, many years ago, let me give you the context. Many years ago, may pakaya, Tagalogin ko na lang para hindi nakakaya. May pakayabang din tayo. But people were telling me, oh, Sir Francis, we have already surpassed India in terms of call center industry. Have you heard about that? Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, that was wrong. India did not lose out to the Philippines. India gave it up and gave it to us. Because they continue to level up into the next value services. That's why today, India now dominates the IT industry. So I was talking to my Indian clients and I said, hey, have you heard the joke? He says, what? Apple runs on iOS. Others run on Android. The world operating system is called India. And they laugh. Looking back today, it is apparent that we did not win. We stayed where we are. Ladies and gentlemen, I just did the talk for the top call center company in the country, in the Philippines. And their trouble was, they are having problems now. When you stay where you are and the world advances forward, you're going to be in trouble. So today we can look at others and say, why is it that India continues to improve and improve? Because it starts with this one. Our friends from India, sir, you're from India, correct me if I'm wrong. Every parent expects their children to either become engineers or doctors, right? So many engineers went to the IT industry. The Filipino parent expect their children to go out of the country to earn dollars. That's why we're here. There's a big difference between the mindset of other countries and give them a considerable amount of time, you can now begin to see the results. Let's look now in terms of OFW scenario. Today, many OFW have invested in their children's education and they have become residents. So their children went into the schools and they're growing up to become professionals. So that's a bright spot. As a matter of fact, it is because of you who have traveled the world that came back to the Philippines and now showed them a different way. So, kailangan pala pumila. I remember the time when I was there, kalat ng basura kung saan-saan. Kaya ngayon, medyo natuto na rin tayo ng konti. Well, 12 years ago, I came and speak and many did not know me. But because they cannot refuse their friends who invited me, some of them attended. Today, they're part of this Rich Rebel thingy. And they're now also sharing their success stories. But some things remain the same. What are the things that remain the same in all of these 11 plus years of my experience with our OFW or our kabayan? One, the inability to save money. Correct? Number two, the propensity to make utang. Correct? So hindi nagbabago. Number three, infighting among Filipino groups. Away pa rin ang away, grabe. And the refusal to work together as a people. This is nothing new. In 1980, my first trip to US, I stayed in the house of a Filipino Hollywood film editor named Isagani Pastor. We're very good with creatives. You guys realize that the most successful animators are Filipinos. But none of them have their own studio. They're always working for somebody else. Kulang ang entrepreneurial thinking. No? But they're there. And so, as he told me all over the US, I said, hey, Gani, please explain to me. Sabi ko sa kanya, ito yung aking na-observe. And by the way, just for your information, long before kayo po ay naging OFW, matagal na po OFW yung Ilocano. They bought Hawaii. They own Hawaii now. Mauna na sila. Kaya today, hindsight is 20/20 vision. You can look back and study the progress. So, what helped the people in the local communities, as far as other countries, sa LA kita ko, there's the American Chinese Chamber of Commerce, there's the Friendship Association of Japan, and there's the Taiwan whatever. Wala po akong makita Filipino and American Friendship Association eh. So I asked Gani, why do we have it? Kasi yung mga association na yan, pag buo yan, they help the community grow, right? Sabi na, meron, Francis. Oh, sabi ko, well, what happened? Eh, tinakbo ng presidente yung pera ng association. Some things never change. Is that? Tama ba ang fair ba observation? Next. Away ng away, grabe. Every time you put Filipinos together, you put 5 of them, 3 of them want to be president. And ito, you know, I was invited to speak after na kami sa Philippine Independence Day. Buboy, at si Cesar Montano and Sunshine, nung 2 pa sila, ibang mga regresyon, and then ako sa Mrs. So we went to Brunei under the invitation of our ambassador. So nagsalita po dito. Si Buboy naman kumanta. You know how it is. 2,000 people packed the whole auditorium. Eh, ang daming association pa naman ng Pilipino. Oo, salubungin natin ng palapa, ang ating TICPA, Brunei, ang ating whatever, Brunei. Aba, dalawang organizations, nakalimutan magbangkitin, tumayo, lumayas. Why? Just because you were from, habang naglista, maawa ka naman sa MC. Dahil hindi na kayo nabanggit, tumayo, pinakita yung drama, lumayas. You know what I call that? I call immaturity. Teka muna, ang maturity, walang kinalaman sa edad, correct?
Yes.
So, maturity has nothing to do with chronology. Maturity has something to do with being serious in your life and being serious with your responsibility, correct? Raise up your right hand, you're getting too quiet. Top shoulder person to your right, look at that person and say, you look so mature. Kaliwa pa kayo na nga. Top shoulder person to your left, look at that person and say, yan ang akala mo. Hindsight is 20/20 vision. History is a good teacher. Let me bring you back right after the Second World War. Many Taiwanese left Taiwan because of the threat of the communism. And then they went to America. Many Koreans left Korea and they settled either in Argentina or also in America because of the extended Korean War. Are you with me?
Yes.
Many Japanese also left Japan because they cannot continue to live with a war with a country that is constantly in war. Many Vietnamese left Vietnam, settled in America, and the Japanese settled in America. Many Filipinos left the Philippines, settled in America. And then let's move forward a couple more years. In just one generation later, the Taiwanese owned the restaurants and the food shops. The Koreans, they owned groceries and gasoline shops. The Japanese, they own the electronic shops. The Vietnamese, they own the parlor and the hairstyling shop. And the Filipinos, they shop. And now you're shopping too. Because this is sales season, right? This is why, in one generation's time, you will find Chinatown, you will find Koreatown, you will find Italian town, you cannot find Filipino town. Because they're always in Nike town, buying Nikes. The inability to unite as a people. Until today, we're still so tribal, aren't we? Sa mga Ilonggo, sa mga Ilocano, sa mga Patanggeno. It's as if you have your own citizenship. Ito hindi ko makalimutan, Brussels, grabe. Pagtayo ko sa Brussels, sabi ko sa kanila, I admire you guys so much because of your fantastic love for the country, Independence Day. Sabi na bakit po? You are the only place I know that celebrate the Philippine Independence Day 3 times because of 3 groups that came up. we fail to see the bigger picture. And it's always emotions all the time. Now, Filipinos, for the sake of our foreign friends, you have to understand one strength we have is that we are very relational. But we are extremely emotional, aren't we?
Yes.
Kaya yung emotions should be kept in the right place. Emotions should serve reason, not the other way around. How many of you are married? Raise up your hand. Good. Next question. How many of you are happy? Ito ko na bawasan. Next question. How many of you have been in love? And how many of you have been hurt because of love? Can I share with you what my advice to my kids were when they were growing up? When they were growing up, I taught my kids, my 2 daughters, remember the 7 B's. What are the 7 B's? B is my favorite letter, company B. What's the 7 B's? Books before boys. Because boys bring babies. I think I was too effective. That's why she doesn't want to get married. And then when I was sharing this in USD, some guy wrote me a PM, and then he says, "Sir, I so enjoyed the 7 B's for girls. Do you know there's a 7B for boys?" Huh? What's that? Books before babes. Because babes bring bankruptcy. Today, oh, by the way, I also advise my kids, follow your heart, but bring your brains with you. Don't leave your brains in the parking lot. But I love you. Stupid. Today, it's going to be a thinking day. Let me tell you what you won't expect to hear from. Number 1, you won't expect to hear me say, "Millionaire, 19 years old pala ako, millionaire na ako." That's stupid. Have you ever heard people say that?
Yes.
You will never hear me say, "Gusto mo ba maging millionaire?" Open-minded ka. Power! Ano ba? Ano ba? That's stupid. Where was it? In Dubai. I was listening to a Filipino speaker and all the followers were there. Sabi sa akin, "Sir, we're so proud of him." I said, "Why? What has he accomplished?" "Sir, he's the first Filipino here in Dubai who owns a Ferrari." And I said, "So? You want to own a Ferrari? You want to bring it in Philippines? You want to drive a Ferrari in EDSA?" Sorry. Can you forgive me if I speak that way? You and I need to be engaged in critical thinking. So what is critical thinking? Critical thinking, let's take a look at the etymology of critical thinking. Critical thinking is defined as the objective analysis and evaluation of an issue in order to form a judgment. Let's just simplify. Critical thinking simply means you hear an opposing opinion, you withhold your judgment, you do due diligence, and then you seek out the truth and then support it with evidences, and then you make a logical conclusion. That means you suppress your emotions first. You use your reason to operate first. Like that? That is applicable kahit na in love ka. Ayan ang problema, mahal ko siya. Do you realize? Hindi ko nababanggitin kung sino. Sikat ng artista to eh. Lumapit sa ako, humingi ng pre-marital advice. So, nandun kami sa coffee shop. So, nagkatinginan yung dalawa. Dikit ng mata. Grabe, hindi mo matanggal eh. Sabi ko, grabe man ko. Pasilip sa ilalim ng mesa, di ko holding hands. Sobrang talaga. Alam na, may shooting. Sabi ko, they're so romantic. Ang nasa isip ko lang, ngiti-ngiti lang ako. Let's wait 7 years later.
7 years.
Wala na kasi. That's why, never in my seminars will you ever hear me say, please have an open mind. I don't want you to have an open mind. Why? Because if your minds are too open, your brains will fall out. There are many seminars out there that are designed to reach your emotions to prevent you from thinking. Have you heard of anybody who was scammed? Sino? Yeah. Why were they scammed? Because they play on their emotions. So the brain stopped thinking. What are the samples of this? You can do it. Yung mga turo ng motivational speaker ng mga buwisit sa buhay. You can do it. Parang, just close your eyes and visualize. And the universe will configure itself. You can walk on fire. Di ba? Pinapatayo eh. Pinapalapat sa apoy eh. Sabi ko, why don't you walk on the water? Open-minded ka na. So, these are so immature. The good thing, the difference now with the kabayan now compared to 11 years ago, you guys are more informed and you guys are more intelligent now. Is it because of social media? Yeah, maybe. Is it because now we have matured a lot more? Yeah. But what I can say, taking a look at Geneva, taking a look at Madrid, tapos ngayon, huling-huli na. Bakit? As a professional speaker, I can gauge the level of the intelligence of my audience. Yeah, it's so easy. You want me to give you a secret, especially among those of you who are training? It's the response time of the audience to my jokes. Pag matalino. Pag hindi masyado, bakit? Kaya bilis na tumawa eh. Lalo na dito, bilis ko. Delikado yan. Delikado yung grupo. No. My mentor, the late Dr. Ravi Zacharias, is a very close friend of mine, says there are 3 kinds of critical thinking. Number 1, it's called academic thinking. Now, this brings you back to the major contribution of the Greek civilization in the names of titans of philosophy, like Socrates and Plato and Aristotle. These guys made a business thinking about thinking. They thought of nothing but their thoughts in a very organized way of reasoning. However, people do not want this. It's so voluminous. I mean, it tells a lot of discipline. That's why one very wisecrack businessman says, Greek philosophy can easily be understood. I said, really? How? To do is to be Socrates. To be is to do Plato. Do, from Sinatra. Number 2, let's talk about the arts. Fyodor Dostoevsky was right when he said, first, arts imitates life. If you want to reproduce the beauty of God's creation, you need a piece of wood or a canvas and then reproduce it. Ladies and gentlemen, today, life derives its essence from the arts. You and I today are products of media. Our friends from TFC, are they here? Yeah, they are so powerful, man. As a matter of fact, whether you like it or not, we are influenced by what we watch. Especially among the young people, they are now called the video generation. So, do you know that the arts always precede every major people movement? Because artists are visionaries. They see something that mere mortals like you and me don't see. They always perceive major movements. Are you still familiar with the people power movement in the Philippines? What were the artistic songs that precede that movement? Sige nga, sino ang pinakasikat na folk singer at that time? Freddie Aguilar. What was the theme of the people movement? Ano yung kanta na daming tema ng movement na yan?
Okay.
Hindi anak. Hindi naman nagmamarch ka na, ano, sinilang ka sa ano? Lagi lumalabas yung susi, anak, so karoon siya. Bayan ko. So, number 1, academic thinking. Number 2, arts. Number 3, itong pinakamatindi, this is where you are. Coffee shop, kitchen table conversation. Coffee shop conversation. Every time you sit down and you converse with someone, you are engaging itself with the philosophy. Kaya ako, ingat po ako eh. Basahin ko po yung post ko. Teka muna. Sino po sa inyo sumusunod sa daily post? Yung hashtag passion, purpose, productivity. I post every day. Taas ang kamay? Higher. Ayan, yung mga hindi po, ladies and gentlemen, watch those hands. Those hands represent the highly intellectually gifted and so, look for me in Francis Kong 2, Facebook. Every day I post something there, and yung po ang nangyayari. Yung nakalagay po doon, you better be careful with the people you associate with. If you associate yourself with winners, what happens to you? You gain winning ideas. But if you associate yourself with losers, what happens to you? Whether you like it or not, the people you associate with has a fantastic influence over your actions, the way you think, and your behavior, and your destiny. Diba? That's why you have to be very selective. Kung tong-its ng tong-its ang mga kasama mo, magiging eksperto ka sa tong-its. Kung inom ka naman ng inom, walang mangyayari. Have you ever seen people who are not very productive? Pareho silang nag-iinom at wala namang production. Pero bidahan pa ng bidaro.
Ouch!
Marites ng marites. Today, I want you to be optimistic. Ako grabe, dami kong kwento, wala pa tayo sa lesson. Magkaroon ng oras tayo rito, magbabayad pa tayo ng extra. Okay lang? Sige, I usually, somebody has to stop me because I have a tendency to talk and talk and talk until kingdom comes. So, I'm in business. It is extremely dangerous to apply unrealistic optimism. Optimism should be tempered by realism. Optimistic ka nga, pero dapat realistic ka. Yung syempre ako eh. And I want you right now to be careful the next time you attend another seminars by some crazy speakers who will say, "You can do it! You can do it!" Ano nga, parang coach ng basketball team, last 2 minutes behind 20 points. Wait! Never will you hear me say when you wake up in the morning, today will be the best day of your life. Smile at everyone you meet. And smile at everyone. Smile with your loved ones. Smile at everyone because today is a nice day. And this message is brought to you by the National Mental Hospital. However, be choosing between optimism and pessimism. I'll still go for optimism. Because even if I'm wrong, I won't give up hope. I'm going to look for ways on how to turn it around. Pessimism naman, oh my goodness. Optimism always tries to look for solution behind problems, or pessimism always looks for problems behind every solution. Have you ever met a happy pessimist? That's why I don't want to be a journalist. Puro bad news ang hinahanap eh. Their work is not easy eh. Yes, yes. The future is best lived in terms of hope, not in terms of fear. Kaya kanina yung testimony, pagkakot ko po, I'm just an ordinary OFW, paano naman? Fear ang nagsasalita eh. Kaya minsan yung tao has to be facing the downest moment in the person's life, or in that person there's no other choice but to build up the hope and faith. That person discovers, kaya naman pala. We can do it. So try to reverse the thinking process. Instead of constantly thinking about what could possibly go wrong, start thinking about what could possibly go right. Yes. Pagsabi ng busy ako. This is how you create opportunities. Yeah. So, the difference between who you are and who you want to be is what you think and what you do. Let me repeat that. The difference between who you are and who you want to be is what you think and what you do. Let me tell you now the world scenario. Everything, everywhere, all at once. That's the best picture of the Academy Awards for 2023, where Michelle Yeoh won the Best Actress category. That's exactly what business people and leaders, including here in the industries, are thinking. Everything is just changing, not only one sector, but everywhere, everything at once. You want to talk about the new normal? The new normal now is called chronic instability. Everything is so unstable. Ang hirap na mag-project eh. Alam mo, sa negosyo ng araw, it was so easy. How much is our revenues this year? So let's add the 10% projection for next year. That's it. Because change used to be linear. Now change is not linear. What you and I are expecting and experiencing today as a new normal is what I call chronic instability. External shocks and uncertainty are the new normal for business. Even here. Nawalan tayo ng engineer, di ba? Napunta sa Saudi. So, you cannot expect things to remain the same forever. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Yesterday pa tayo napunta sa embassy. I'm losing track of time. I appreciate so much what I learned from them. You know, we have good people in the embassy whose care is for you. So, ang tanong ko sa kanila, kayo po, anong wish list nyo? Kung gusto niyo matuto ng mga kabayan natin, sabi ko ng isa, sana magkaroon ng plan B. Bakit? Hindi po, no matter what you do, you will never become citizens of this country. Kaya you always have to think of plan B. What's my next plan? What's my future plan? So, ang ambassador naman po natin sa Madrid, pagpasok sabi ko, kailangan pagkawa. Kliyente ko siya eh. Yung anak niya, yung negosyo. The last name is Louis, Cebu Louis. So sabi naman niya, alam mo Francis, ang wish list ko lang sa ating mga kabayan ay mag-level up na sila. Dito lang sa Madrid, ang dami mga professional nurses na hindi lang na nursing eh. So, bakit? Kasi mahigpit, kinakailangan may exams na mag-aaral. Yung iba matyaga, nag-aaral. Pero karamihan sila, paghirap na nga yung magtrabaho dito sa amo mo, tapos mag-aaral po. Hindi forever nandiyan ka lang. You understand? I was smiling as I was watching Bloomberg. This is my favorite guy, my favorite newscaster, David Ingles or David Ingles. Yeah. Ito. Ang galing. I was so surprised when he was interviewing our former DSP governor, Ben Diokno, and he suddenly broke into Filipino. Sabi na, Pinoy po ako. Galing. And then I was laughing at them because both of them were laughing too. And they were saying, hey, did you notice? Our top advisors, our billionaires in US dollars, by the way, our financial gurus, our CEOs, whenever you ask them questions like, what are your projections for the future? Everybody was interpreted. Nobody dares make any prediction. Because nobody knows what's going to happen next week, maybe tomorrow. They don't want their reputation to be spoiled. So they don't have confidence even though they're experts. The only people who are captured and so full of confidence are the feng shui expert. Yung mga muhula lang. Itong taon na to, this is now the year of the, and yet they miss the biggest event of the century called COVID-19, di ba? Kaya nag-i-struggle sila sa credibility. Kagabi, kinuwento ko nga sa ating mga community leader. When I entered my room, about to begin my leadership training, I recognized this guy. Regular yan sa ABS-CBN, kasama ko sa umagang kay Ganda. His name is Hans. You know him? Anong tawag sa kanya? Master Hans. Pagpasok sa si Hans to. Hey Hans, what are you doing here? Attend your seminar. Why? I want to learn. Oh, kita mo? The guy who knows the future still wants to learn. Tayo pa. And so, generally speaking, the world now is being threatened by 4 disruptions. Number 1, political disruption, and I want you to pray. You have to pray hard for the Philippines. Kanina may incident na naman. Water cannon, boats. I'm very active with the Philippine Air Force because I co-chair with Ned Coseco, our Family Residence Committee. You don't have to be surprised within the next 2 years magkaroon ng conflict sa lugar. We don't need that. We have to pray. And needless to say, yun nangyayari. Number 2, technology disruption. Every time a new technology becomes mainstream, your life and my life is going to be affected. Number 3, demographic disruption. Different generations are now either retiring and new generations are entering the picture na hindi mo maintindihan yung mga bata ngayon, iba na ang kanilang values and attitude, di ba? Alam mo ba, ang pinakamalaking marka ng Gen Z, they are the biggest generation who are going to grow up to become atheists. Naging humanistic na sila. Number 4, climate disruption. Dati yung super typhoon minsan lang, ngayon lahat ng typhoon super. So, the world is currently existing in an economic environment of lower growth. What else do you find? Higher interest rate, higher inflation, higher uncertainty. So, the question now is, how are we going to prepare for a known unknown? Preparation is key. I love what 3-time Olympic gold medalist Jackie Joyner-Kersee has to say. Sabi niya, it's better to look ahead and prepare than to look back and regret. After 30 years of work as an OFW, uuwi sa bahay, walang pera. Matanda na, may sakit pa. Yung iba, ini-scam, correct? At minsan, yung scam na yan, galing pa sa kanilang pamilya. We have to prepare for the future. How are we going to keep ourselves useful? How are we going to fire up ourselves so that we can be ready? So these are the things I want to share with you now. Are you okay?
Yes.
Well, that's my way of saying, magmula po ako nag-good afternoon hanggang ngayon. Introduction pa lang yan. Are you learning?
Yes.
Raise up your right hand. Tap the shoulder person to your right. Look at that person and say, grabe, ang dami ko na napitunan. Kaliwang kamay naman. Tap the shoulder, look at that person and say, kahit wala akong naiintindihan. Let me give you some very practical ways of how to prepare yourself. Because I'm going to talk to you as an individual. We're not talking about business or organizations or anything. Tapos, i-connect mo na lang itong mga ideas on how. Kasi hindi ko alam ang buhay nyo eh. Kaya imposible yung mga speakers ha, dapat ganito gawin mo para maseso ka, ano ka? So you have to present ideas and then it's up to you to patch it up together. So, here are some of the things I want to share with you. Number 1, I want you to be motivated and to stay motivated the scientific way. Hindi ito yung mga pinagtuturo ng mga Alam mo, ang social media ngayon, Kahit wala kang alam sa buhay, pwede ka maging expert eh. Grabe kung ano ang pinatuturo. Yung isang sumisikat, sikat na eh. Wala na siyang ginawa sa kanyang social post kung hindi, my boss is toxic, the company is toxic, everywhere the culture is toxic, kaya if everything is toxic, you quit your job. Baka hindi niya alam siya yung toxic. Wala na lang experience sa buhay, pagtuturo pa. Mali pa naman ang turo. So, there's a science behind being motivated. Here's the thing. Oh, last night I said it, tonight I have to say it. Today I have to say it again. Many motivational speakers, they don't like me. In fact, many of them hate me, correct? And that's okay. Because the feeling is very, very And after the pandemic, marami mga motivational speakers na buray. Burado eh. Kasi hindi na nila alam kung ano yung mundo to. Kopya lang naman ng kopya sa libro, eh yung libro hindi reflective of the times. So here are the things I want you to do. Yung to be motivated and to stay motivated depends on the following. We are now surrounded by a lot of noises. We don't want to respond to the noises. You want to design and manage your voices. There are 5 voices that are internally within us. What are they? Number 1, the voice of compulsion. This is the internal voice. This is that internal voice that urges you to give your best and to be your best every day. Hindi ka pa nga bumabangon sa kama eh. Meron lang tinig na lumalabas na, uy, tumisig ka na, Francis. Today can be the best day of your life. You better get up and get going. Pero may kalaban yung voice na yan. The other voice says, walang nangyayari dyan. At siya pa yung COVID, di ba? Walang mangyayari. Yung amo mo, napakalakas ang impact. Sa Tagalog, ang impacto. So, if you don't believe me, watch this, ha? I'm going to give out a book of mine to the first person who can answer me correctly. No cheating. Don't Google search now. In 5 seconds time lang, ha? Just to prove to you there are voices happening within us. How many decisions does a person have to make in an average day? Sige nga. Hundreds. 5 seconds lang. Wala. 1,000. Close.
7,000.
Tapos na. 5 seconds. 1,000, right? 35,000. Oh, Google search mo ngayon yan. Bakit? Kahit tulog ka pa, nagdi-decide ka eh. Will I turn to the left? Will I turn to the right? Tataas mo yung kamay ko? Ang dami yan. So, you have to make sure that you make the decision towards the right thing. Kasi pag autopilot ka, araw-araw na hindi ka dumidiscard ng pag-iisip mo, you will remain the same wherever you are. So ako naman pag-isip, hindi pa nga bumabangon sa kama. I start my day with a little habit. I say a little prayer. And by the way, your prayer doesn't have to be long. One of the shortest prayer in the Bible was prayed by Peter when he was drowning. 3 words lang ang containment niya. What are the 3 words? How many of you read the Bible? Alam mo yung Bible, itim yan eh. Di ba? What were the 3 words that Peter prayed? Hindi. Nalulunod na. Thank you, Lord. His prayer was, Lord, save me. Was he saved? Yes. What his prayer answered? Yes. Why was his prayer short? Because he's drowning. Wala na siyang oras para Father. Before I wake up, before I rise up from bed, I say, Lord, thank you for this day. You know, why somebody's not going to wake up the same morning. And then I pray for every event that I have, including this one. You never know what's going to happen. Hindi naman lahat ng audience ko, kasi bait nyo. I spoke in front of 900 family physicians, and there was one professor of philosophy who stood up in away ako in front of everybody. So you never know what's gonna happen, but I just rely on Him. You know what have I done? I posited my mind towards the expectation of things positive. Number one, the voice of compulsion. But that voice of compulsion should be supported by the second voice called the voice of interpretation. Everybody say interpretation.
Interpretation.
This is a trusted voice. This is the voice that is not fake news. This is the voice that is not marites. This is the voice that is not full of gossips that will not add value to you. You have to do some work. Do due diligence. Now, why? Because the human mind works like a computer hard disk. Garbage in what? Garbage out. Now, this is very important. We need to be informed. That's why we gotta watch the news, but we don't have to be consumed by the news. If nakatutok ka sa news, and by the way, yung mga breaking news and are not necessarily new news, they're the same news cycle being repeated all the time, being presented in a different way, being expressed by a different newscaster. It's the same thing. Pero pag hindi ko maingat, and when a person is fearful, the more didikit yan sa news. Papasok ang negativity sa utak. And let me start by telling you, tanggalin natin yung lahat mga notification natin sa smart devices natin. You don't need the notification to distract you from what you're doing. Ito na nga, masaya ka na nga, biglang ito bad news. Sita mo naman yung araw mo. You have to take care of your mind. Para naman doon sa mga bata rito. Sino yung mga bata rito? Taas mo ka. Sabi ko na nga, mahina sa mathematics ang Pilipinas. Have you ever heard the phrase, age doesn't matter? Have you ever heard it?
Yeah.
Hindi totoo yun. Hindi ka naman punong kahoy. And so, para sa mga bata, do not do doom scrolling. Do not do doom surfing. And for the life of me, do not involve yourself with social media bashing. What do you get out of that? Sira lang ang araw mo, galing ka pa sa mundo. And by the way, you have to understand, media shapes our thinking, both mass media and social media. And while we're in the topic of letting things enter our mind, what's this? How many of you watch movies or Netflix before you go to bed? How many of you, until now, you still pirate films and movies? I look forward to the day when I will watch Netflix with my wife. Just to let you know, even while we're watching Netflix, we still hold hands.
Wow.
When we go to the mall shopping, our hands hold each other. Because if we will let go, I'll start shopping. And so, ito Halloween. Netflix and all these platforms are operated by algorithm. You watch one horror movie, then all the horror movies are recommended to you. Kaya, in our family, we don't allow horror movies.
Yes.
Why? One wise person says, if you're feeling sad and lonely, go to your room. Turn off the lights. Watch a horror movie. After you have watched a horror movie, you will never feel like you're alone anymore. And I recommend some inspiring movies for you to watch.
Yes.
Watch movies like The Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, Chariots of Fire, Pursuit of Happiness, Rudy, Gandhi, biographies. While you're being entertained, you learn lessons. What is it that all these guys, and they went through fire even more than I do, and yet they emerge as winners? Sila dumaan sa pagsubok sa buhay, mas mahirap nga yung dinaanan nila, pero bakit sila panalo? Bakit ako hindi ako maasenso? You begin to learn. And by the way, for all of you who are doing consultancy and training, I'd like to suggest one thing. You don't need to pay expensive fees for a speaker like me. You can gather the people together, watch a movie with permission, of course. And then your puhunan, your investment will be popcorn and a little bit of beverage. And there are two movies that I would love to recommend. The Korean movie, this is Korean movie. Why? Western movies are very dark and lonely because they are going through difficulty. Saka ingat po kayo ha. Wala namang kamalay-malay kung walang connection doon sa tema, biglang sisingitan ng violence at sex. Pag nangyari yan, tingin na kami ni sabi, ano ba naman yun? Matanda na tayo, hindi na natin kailangan. Basta may lamesa, may mangyayari. Buti na lang, na-discover namin yung crash landing on you. At hindi lang yan. I will recommend a movie that you can watch to teach on excellence. Do we have it? Not this one. Take one. That's fantastic. It's a docu-series featuring the best of the best in Korea. Rain is there. Mama girls, they're here. What did they do to discipline themselves so that they emerge out as the best of the best? You can use this movie and then after watching the movie, ask them to process the lessons and learn. That's, last night I said this very importantly, I'm going to repeat. There is entertainment and there's education. Entertainment distracts. Why? You're broken-hearted. In order for you to forget, manood na lang ako ng pelikula para makalimot. Pagkatapos manood ng pelikula, nawawala ang problema mo. Hindi. The same time, you devoted to wasting time and being entertained so that you can forget. If you have invested in educating yourselves, you might probably discover some ideas that can help you with your situation. That's why entertainment distracts, education engages. First voice, compulsion. Second voice, interpretation. Number 3, transformation. This is the compelling voice. This is the compelling voice that converts your compulsion and information into action. You have to come up with a strategic plan. Even during the pandemic, there was not a day when I'll come up with strategizing the things I have to do the next day. Until today, that's a habit of mine. What am I going to do? How am I going to strategize this one? And so, next is, let me check. How much more time do I have so that I can be sure? 1 hour pa. Okay, 1 hour. Are you guys still okay?
Yes.
So, sige ha. Kayo ha. Hanggang bukas pa ito. My favorite philosopher, Dr. Dallas Willard, says we are hopelessly at the mercy of our ideas. Kung ano yung napipika mo ideas, doon ka gagalaw doon ka kikilos If we don't build this mindset, then, ito na naman yung mga speaker na nagsasabi, you have to have a growth mindset, not a fixed mindset. Well, they're mimicking the work of Dr. Carol Dweck in her seminal work called Mindset. Let me give you an example of the fixed mindset and growth mindset. What's this now? Kung ikaw may fixed mindset, ang katwiran mo, hindi ako magiging successful because I'm not talented Sabi naman ng growth mindset, success comes from effort. Magtrabaho ka. Sabi naman ng fixed mindset, I'm either smart or dumb. Either or proposition. Kung hindi ako matalino, bobo ako. Sabi naman ng isa, I can grow my intelligence. Can I tell you something personal? If I tell you something personal, can you promise me you will not spread this all over Qatar? If it goes out, I'm sure it came from you. When I was in high school, it took me 6 years to finish high school. I'm not kidding. I love high school so much. Bad attitude, and so I earned my PhD in high school. PhD means passing high school with difficulty. And because I messed up my life, I had a reputation in high school. I went to a Chinese school in the Philippines called Uno High School. I had a reputation. They said Francisco is the dumbest kid in school, and they made the joke out of me. Can you imagine if I'm going to believe that? Then I say I'll be forever dumb because everybody says I am. But by sheer anger. Why? I'm the only guy who goes to UST to fetch my girlfriend in my high school uniform. Hindi lang yun. She has a lot of aunties who came from mainland China. They're all very short. Makapandak lahat. And they're so noisy. They had an emergency meeting. I was the agenda. They were convincing her to leave me. They were saying, are you sure you're going to give your heart to a loser who can't even pass high school? How would you blame them? Diba? Today, many of them are still alive. When they see me, Francis, we're so proud of you. So what happened? When I entered college, I said, oh man, I wasted 2 years. And to prove them wrong, because I was angry. Anger has energy. You channel the same energy into positive endeavors. So when I entered college, I decided to do something I've never done before. I studied. So when I was studying, my mom approached me and said, son, are you all right? So I shot for the highest rank. I looked at Summa. After 4 years, I missed it by 1 point. I should have cheated. That's okay. So you're going to tell me, it's either I'm smart or I'm dumb. I'm going to smile at you and say, that's not entirely the truth. Next. A fixed mindset will say, I don't like challenges. Growth mindset says, I embrace challenges as a chance to grow. Next. Fixed mindset says, failure means I can't do it. Growth mindset says, good, that means I'm learning. Have you ever made mistakes? So if you have ever made mistakes and you learn from it, you have to cross out the word mistake. Substitute mistake for the word tuition. You just invested in learning. Next. Fixed mindset says feedback is a personal attack. This is the number one problem, my friends, in HR. Every year you have performance review, diba? So for a person who has a growth mindset, pag sinabing, what's your name, sir? Jose. Jose, you're good here, but you're not very good here. You need to improve. Jose, with the growth mindset, will say, everybody has blind spots. I'm so grateful. My boss is telling me what areas I need to improve. And I have to work on it and convince my boss that I've improved, right? But what if Jose has a fixed mindset? Pag sinabi ngayon ng boss mo, Jose, you're good here, but you are not very good here, huh? You know what he said? Why are you judging me? By the way, never say you're so judgmental. In social media, there are people who say, Francis, why are you so judgmental? He doesn't understand logic. When you pronounce me as judgmental, you have just judged me, right? Double-edged sword. Next. Fixed mindset says, if you succeed, I feel threatened. If you succeed, I'm inspired. Most of the company's clients of mine, they have awards and recognition. So, ito, na-award ka, hindi sa akin din. The person with a fixed mindset will say, kaya naman, kaya sa award here. Sip. The person with the growth mindset will say, sister, ano ba sikreto mo? Turuan mo naman ako para next year ako naman. Next. Somebody with a fixed mindset says, if something's too hard, I give up. Growth mindset said, I keep trying even when I'm frustrated. That's my problem now with the young generation. When the young generation is given something hard to do, what's their immediate expression? This job is not for me. Have you ever heard that? So young people come to me and say, Sir Francis, this job is not for me. My response is, what job is for you anyway? Mothers, is it, look, do we make mistakes?
Yes.
Do we have to learn from failure?
Yes.
Do we have to learn from hard things? Yeah. Mothers, what age does a child begin walking? One. Yung unang balak pa lang, maglakad ng bata, natutumba o hindi? Of course, the child stumbles, right? Bakit? May nakita na kayong mga newly born baby, biglang tumatakbo? Ano yan, tiyanak? Diba? So, anong ginagawa mo sa bata pag natumba? You pick it up, you balance it, tapos next 2 steps, natutumba ba? Yeah, what do? Wash, rinse, repeat. 3 steps, 4 steps, 5 steps. Natutumba? Yes. Have you ever heard a child say, I don't think walking is for me? Duh. So, the fourth voice now is the voice of faith, the voice of hope. This is the voice of optimism based on historical knowledge that every crisis has. But there are recoveries that will happen. March 2020, all of my engagements were canceled. I've never had that experience. Do you know that I was supposed to be here in Qatar in 2020? Because the Ministry of Commerce and Industry invited me to speak about investments. But it was canceled. I began moving into Zoom and webinar. My number one message is this crisis will pass. Nobody seemed to believe me. Look at where we are now. All crises will pass, you know why? Whether we are in a crisis situation or not. Heaven's throne is the same. It's still occupied. Crisis is something we can't control, but God is in full control.
Yes.
So with hope and faith, supported by interpretation, right material, due diligence, which brings us to number 5, the voice of courage. This is the voice of bravery. While you're not guessing, you are making an educated decision. So now you're wise. You're armed. You're armed with facts. That's number 1. The 5 voices that you need to have. Number 2, you gotta pursue passion, purpose, and productivity. Fire up your passion. Ito na naman tayo sa passion yan. Busita ko sa mga speaker na. You gotta follow your passion. If you run after your passion, money will run after you. Sabi ko, no, poverty will. Sabi ko sa bata, my passion is to travel. Sabi ko, that's a hobby. That's not a passion. So pagkatapos magsalita yung mga speakers there, passion man, sabi ko, could you please explain to me what's the meaning of passion anyway? Now you come across the most ridiculous definition of passion you can ever hear. Because sabi nila, pursue your passion. Your passion equals your dream. And this one I hate so much. Skills are cheap. Passion is priceless. Really? Well, I hope that this guy will not have a brain tumor. If he has a brain tumor, will he be willing to be operated on his brains by a surgeon who is lacking in skill but full of passion? Stupid. And then you ask some certain people, what's passion? They try to impress you with highfalutin definition. Passion is extreme happiness. I said, no, that's insanity. Sabi ko, passion is extreme desire. Sabi ko, maniakis yun. Yung isa nagpapa-impress, passion is the fire in your belly. I said, no, that's gas. If you take a look at the word origin of passion, especially in the Latin, passion always means suffering. That's why Mel Gibson came up with the movie what? The Passion of the Christ. Passion means you are willing to suffer some inconveniences to go through the discipline of certain steps you need to do, even though you don't like it, but you know without doing it, it will never bring you to where you want to go. That's Fritz Revenge. You start with wrong thinking, and then they get trained, and then they learn. But they gotta work. No such thing as instant success. There's instant ramen, there's instant coffee, there's instant baby milk that produces instant baby, but there's no instant success. That's why the moment you hear somebody magsasabi, konti lang ang investment mo, kikita ka ng malaki, dapat nag-aalarma ka na. Sinawin mo ka pala. Inuloko ako eh. There's no such thing. Ang problema kasi sa Pinoy, hindi nag-research at mahilig tayo sa mga bagay na hindi natin naintindihan. Sir Francis, Bitcoin. Bakit Bitcoin? Ano? Bitcoin? Bitcoin? Saan ba naman yung Bitcoin? Ano yan eh? Basta Bitcoin. Sabi ng isang bata, Sir Francis, gusto ko mag-invest sa stocks market. Sabi ko, bakit? Para magkaroon ng passive income. Passive income? Stocks market? Okay. Sabi, ilang taon ka na ba? 20. Wala ka bang income? Passive na, gusto mo? Pagtrabaho ka, visit ka. Do you understand? Oh my. This person started as a dishwasher. Mahirap madali. So sabi niya, I'm not satisfied with variety. Kailangan mag-level up ako. And so, tinapos niya yung college education. Mahirap? Dishwasher ka na, nag-aaral ka ba? Na-promoted. Naging waiter. Mahirap o madali? Let's talk about waiters and servers, by the way. I'm thankful for Fritz Verbo. They booked me in a hotel. Ano pangalan ng hotel? Ang tawag? Abes. Yung pangalan ng server nila, sobrang galing. Sobrang servisyo. Magaling umingles, nakangiti lahat. Most of them are from Nigeria. So, ina-expect ko, ba't walang Pinoy dito? Kaya hindi na rin mo po pwedeng sabihin natin, pagdating sa hospitality, number 1 ang Pinoy. Eh kung hindi ka naman nagle-level up, yung iba nagle-level up eh. Bigyan rin na. So ito, hindi ka po pwede, kahit na waiter, nag-masteral. Madaling lang mahirap. Waiter ka na, nag-masteral ka ba? But now you have kids. They're now promoted. That guy became a restaurant manager. Mahirap? Pero yung hirap, more mental, less physical. Sabi nga, hindi ko mo pwede mag-aaral ka. This guy, who started as a dishwasher in that company, became the president of the very company that he started as a dishwasher with. And this guy is a friend of mine. His name is Big Gregorio. And his restaurant is Shakey's. Do you get it now? Kaya sabihin mo sa kanya, Sir, mahirap kasi. Hingitian ka lang niya. Kaya pag nakatalikad mo kasi paano ka rin. Are you ready for another personal adventure?
Yes.
I became known in the area of garments sa company B, but not a lot of people know how I started. Nagsimula ako sa garments, hindi glamorous yan. Kaya ako ng mannequin sa show window. Eh ano ngayon? Wala namang hanap buhay yung nakakaya. Hindi ka naman naglalakaw eh. Pero you don't stay there. You have to have aspirations. Eh nung araw, walang seminar. The only way I can grow is to keep on reading and reading and reading. Are you familiar with that old supermarket in Manila called Unimart?
Yes.
So, minsan, mag-grocery na kami ni Mrs. Pagpasok doon sa aisle, my favorite aisle where they sell potato chips and junk food. Ginawa ka naman ni Mrs. Sabi na, sweetheart, huwag ka muna this time. Next payroll na lang. Potato chips? Affected ka ba siya?
Ano gagawin ko?
Nagalit ako doon. Pero sabi ko sa sarili ko, I will never allow this to happen again. Kaya lang, paglapit ko kay Lokata, sweetheart, I need money to buy books. Books at that time cost about 600 to 800 pesos. Labas siya. Tapos siya mag-sacrifice. You understand what I'm saying? You will invest in education. The rest you don't invest in. But the key here is to understand you have to have a spouse who supports you.
Yes.
Supportado ka ng misis mo, mister mo. Hindi ka naman faithful ka na. Raise up your right hand, your two colleagues. Not shoulder person to your right. Look at that person and say, you've got to be faithful. Kaliwa ka may iman. Not the shoulder. Look at that person and say, huwag kang nangangaliwa. Sino ba sa inyo galing sa Cebu? Anybody from Cebu? Oh, ito yung mga tindahan binibihisan ko. Rosita Puente, Rosita Colon, Casini. Anybody from Bacolod? Ha? Bacolod, yan. Boston Bazaar, Big Ben Bazaar. Anybody from Cagayan de Oro? Kaya, wala nang iba kung hindi kay Steve Caisano. So, yan ang mga, kung makikita mo ako nung araw, anybody from Davao? Davao, isang tindahan lang, Pinchris. Kung makikita mo ako nung araw, ang bibihis ako naman again. Tinatawagan ako eh. Pare, di ba yung scholar natin? Oh, kaya ayaw ko maging scholar. Hindi na may trabaho niya. Bading, ginagawa ko ako. Now, here's the important thing to understand. Their opinions do not define me. Bahala ko sa buhay mo. Ito buhay ko eh. I gotta have aspiration. I gotta move. At ito ang nakakatuwa. Kung sino yung ma-aseso sa akin, yung mga kasama natin na napag-iwanan, yan ang titira sa iyo. Eh, ngayon, pag ikaw, ano ka naman ganyan? Kasi nasasaktan mo. Congratulations, you're a loser too. So passionate. Now, dito siguro tayo kung bako ka. So, is you okay?
Yes.
There are 5 resources you need to manage correctly. Number 1, your attention. Pabilis ngayon ng distraction eh. Sino po sa inyo, hindi masyado malakas ang Viber dito, WhatsApp, no? Sino sa inyo, habang nagtatrabaho ko, biglang na, ping! Tapos may link, tapos pinipinipshot mo yung link, pasok ka dyan, and by the time you go back to your original work, 20 minutes is gone. Ang bilis ng distraction. Focus now is becoming an acquired skill. Kinakailangan natututo ka mag-focus. The latest research says that the attention span of adults today, guess what? 6 seconds. That's why in sales, we have a principle that says for the first 6 seconds in the prospect's mind, pag hindi mo nakuha yung attention, you've lost that person. The attention span of adults now is 6 seconds. The attention span of goldfish is 8 seconds. Have you recognized goldfish? I wonder how they measure goldfish. Number 2, your energy. Especially in my case. Can anybody guess how old I am now? Be careful. My wife and I were turning 69 next year. How can I not manage my energy? Pero kung grabe ka rito, tong-itch ka dyan, ano. By the time you need your energy to do the main thing, yet you're low back, you just wasted your opportunity. Next, your time. You lose your energy, you rest, you recharge. You lose your attention, you refocus. You lose everything, they're renewable. But time is the only resource that is not renewable. You waste it, you're gone. Albert Einstein says, the mystery of the universe I understand, but I do not understand the mystery of compounded interest. When you save your money and it compounds, it grows so fast that you will never be able to explain it. So some people say, but this is not time for me to save. I'm not making enough money to save it anyway. Oh, wait till the time when you don't get money. Next, your money. Money is very important. Can I go down and move among you?
Yes.
Oh. Kasi naman, I was wondering, is there anybody with a 1,000 pesos na yung pesos yung pwede na ako? So, then, thank you. Ikaw pinakamayaman. Let me ask you a question. What do you call this?
Bago na.
Oh, bago na.
Money.
Bills?
Yan yung bago.
Money? in my clients in the banking industry calls this currency. Me, I call this an idea. Why? This is just a piece of paper that represents an idea that you can use as a tool of exchange that is legal tender. What is the meaning of legal tender? That means Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas approved this. If you don't believe me, try any piece of paper. Nobody will exchange anything. So this is an idea of why. If I'm hungry and I eat this, I will not be full. So I need to use this currency to exchange the things that I need, right? So now watch. How many zeros do you find? The 3 zeros preceded by 1, this refers to price. Everybody say price. But the moment I exchange this for something else, what I receive is no longer called price. It should be called value. Everybody say value. In other words, price is what you pay for, value is what you receive or what you experience. Let me give you another idea. Are you willing to exchange this price for a pack of chewing gum? No. Why? Because the price you give out is lower than the value you get. Next question. Are you willing to exchange this price for a year 2023 S-Series 300 Mercedes-Benz? Yes. Why? Because the price that you give away is too low and the value you get is too high. And you don't even have to worry because it will never happen. So here's my next question. Sabi nila, late now, late. So, if we can honestly evaluate, yung mga pinagbibili natin, tumpak ba yung value o mas mababa kapalit doon sa price na binitawan natin? Doon pa lang eh. Education is valuable. I'll spend it. Entertainment is not. I won't. So, doon pa lang, makikita na natin kung paano. I'm going to talk a little bit about money and the behavior. If you understand, I'm not talking about investments, I'm talking about the basic principle and philosophy of money. Thank you. Let me give you some ways. Sweetheart, pakilabas mo nga yung ways on how to kick yourselves with the bad habits about your money that keeps you poor. But first, let's study the lesson from the ants. Langgam. Ang daming gandang lesson ng langgam. Study the ants. Ants take summer all winter. Kahit may dinadaanan kang problema, adversity, hirap, summer will come. Winter will pass. They don't give up hope. Ants think winter all summer. Are you making money now? Are you earning? Winter will come. So that's why we better learn how to save and we should have emergency fund. Next, ants carry stuff many times their own weight and do not complain. The weight of the things that the ants are carrying are many times heavier than them. And so, there are burdens. When we say, ang hirap eh, hindi, kaya mo yan, ayaw mo lang. Next, ants stop an ant from its path and it will look for another path without letting down the weight. What happens when an ant crosses and you put your hand to obstruct it? Will the ant go back? Have you ever heard an ant say, "This job is not for me"? He'll find ways in order to do it. Now, let me give you, with that as a background, let me give you the following things that I hope you'll always remember. When it comes to money, ito po, these are the bad habits that keep a person poor. I'm jumping from one lesson to another lesson because we don't have time. By the time I cover all of this in my notes, we're gonna plan tomorrow morning. Are you still learning?
Yes.
Let me start with number 1. Spending more as your income increases. North Coast Parkinson says, our expenses rise up to meet your income. Balikan niyo. Nag-umpisa pa lang tayo, di ba? Kung sa Pilipinas, bola-bola na, pwede na, fishball. Nung kumita ng kaunti, dapat siyempre, Jollibee, McDonald's. Ang muna promote, pagkakahirap, dapat may fine dining ng konti. Dati nag-umpisa ka, Relo, Swatch. Diba? Na-promoted ka, kailangan naman Omega. By the way, it's pronounced Omega, not Omega. Nakabisita na ako sa factory ng Omega. Yan ang problema ng Pinoy. Omega daw pare, Omega. Mali ka na nga. So, habang lumalaki ang kinikita mo, ang tawag natin dyan, manage elevation. You manage your lifestyle. Huwag mo sasabayan yan. Nung inaasahan ng sweldo ng ating mga uniform personnel, I was doing training for our kadete from PNP sa Silang, Cavite. These are the people now who are going to graduate this year, and next year they're going to enter the police work as professionals. And I asked them, when our past president increased their salary, do you know how much money these boys are making? 30,000 pesos every month, free meal, free lodging, everything free. Uniform, everything given. And I asked them this question, how many among you are in debt? Sino sa inyo may utang? To one half of the class raise up their hand. Huh? Maybe they're helping their parents or whatever. But this is what I said. Wala kayong expense ngayon, hindi kayo marunong mag-save. If you don't know how to manage your money now, when you go out of this institution next year, you will be corrupt 100%. So, you don't spend more as your income increases. Number 2, focusing on the present without caring about the future. If you listen to the testimonies ng ating kasama kanina, nakatingin na sila eh. You know why they invested in their properties? It's not because they want to make money on the properties. It started with the fear that if I hold the money, I might lose it, I might as well force myself to save. You get it? And then later on, they realize, I can make a business out of this. But it all starts with saving. Kaya type na type yung alkansya. You know, until today. Are you familiar with potato chips na Lay?
Yes.
Ginagamit kong alkansya yun. Tapos nilalagay doon ng pera. Why? When we train our children, even in their young age, the concept of alkansya, you know what you're training them? The principle of delayed gratification. Sabi mo, anak, tuloy mo yan. Tsaka wag kang pupupit. Pag napuno na yan, have a ceremony. Since you saved hard for it, here, let's open it. And then, with your guidance, of course, what is it that you want because you work for it? That's an entrepreneurial principle. Number 3, you think it's too early to start saving. No. The principle of time. You start early now, you enjoy the benefit. Number 4, not keeping a record of your money. Oh my goodness, how many of you record your spending every day? Yan ang mga natatalino. Have you ever experienced this? Kasaswerte ko lang, hindi ko na alam kung saan napunta. Hindi mo alam? Ano ba? Unconscious ka ba? Ito wala yung pera mo. Number 5, lack of budgeting and poor budgeting. Now, question. Pagdating sa pera, sinong dapat may hawak? Lalaki o babae? Katapang ng mga babae. Mali ang sagot. Pagdating sa pera, ang hahawak yung marunong kay lalaki at babae. Now, look. God has blessed me with the gift of wealth creation. I know how to make money. But I don't know how to keep the money I make. Pag may pera akong hawak, dapat mawala yan eh. Kaya ngayon, lahat po niyan, hawak ni Mrs. Accounting na nga, auditor pa. Aba, nako-complain yung anak ko eh. Sabi niya, you know, when I ask for my monthly allowance is our allowances expected? Yes. Hihingi lang ng allowance. The requirement of the mom is, where's your business case? Explain mo sa akin pa naman po. She's more strict than COA. Mas strict to sa commission to audit yan. And it works. Pagdating sa purchases, let me give you an idea. Question. Sino madalas gumastos? Lalaki o babae? Babae. Pero yung pinagagastusan nila, maliit lang. Yung mga lipstick, yung mga facial mask, yung mga yung lalaki, minsan na gumastos, ang mamahal na mga binibili. So, here is our rule. It takes 2 yeses to approve a buy. If I say yes and she says no, I don't buy. If she says yes and I said no, we don't buy. If I say yes and she says yes, let's buy. That means she has gone through the budget and we're okay. Ano ang favorite ng mga kalalakihan? Sige na. Shoes, ano pa? Watch. Bakit watch? Let me explain kung bakit. It's the only piece of jewelry that men can wear. Hindi bagay sa kanila yung diamond earrings. Next, being unclear of your needs and wants. Lahat ng gusto mo, pagka emotions ang umira, kailangan ko. Pero pag nabili mo na, we have a term called buyer's remorse. Amazon.com, di ba? Add to cart. In the Philippines, the number one temptation to the Filipino people is double dates. 9, 9, 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, 12, 13, 13. Bakit 13, 13? Lumabaksak ng 13 month ko eh. And so, be clear. Number 7, be clear about your goals and write them down. Oh, you have saved money, you can manage money. What are your goals? You have to have an end goal. When it comes to properties, my goal is not just to live in it. My goal is to own it and then earn passive income out of it. Now, some people don't understand. You buy one unit, you say that's an investment. Not necessarily. It becomes an investment when you buy low, you sell high. But if you buy 2 units, you stay in one. The other one now, you rent it out. Then there's what is called passive income. As I told you, I'm a very conservative investor. I'm not fascinated with all this. I'm more of a Warren Buffett type. I don't go for all this crypto thing. Because I'm born Chinese. The Chinese have a saying. In Chinese it says, 对皮为给卡多，狼一嘴。The skin of the earth, meaning land, will not expand. But the volume of the population continues to increase. Therefore, the demand low, supply low will operate. That's why the pandemic has flattened the real estate industry. But it was flattened in not a very strong way. Mga 10% lang ang nawala. Now it's back. If you are in Manila now, there's a lot of foreigners now that are looking for lease and they're renting. Depends on your location, of course. If you're located beside the zoo, I think it's very difficult to rent. Next, ignoring your debt. My goodness. Ang utang, hindi pribilehiyo yan. Ang utang, ibang may-ari niya, hindi ikaw. Wrong philosophy, wrong thinking, equals wrong living. I shared this last night. Basta Dugupan City ako, traffic. Across the street, stoplight, tigil, 2 buntis. Nag-uusap, narinig ko eh. Sabi ko siya, ay Mare, buntis ka na pala. Ay, oo. Ikaw, ayaw niyo ako hirap na buhay. Ano ka ba? Sinasayang mo yung maternity benefit mo. Bunti ko nga sinipa yung dalawa. No. A debt is like pregnancy. Let me repeat that. A debt is like pregnancy. It cannot stay hidden. It's going to get bigger and bigger until one day it explodes. Oh, hindi ba yan ang problema natin dito? Utang ng utang, pagkatapos, papakulong. So, akala niya, pagkatapos makulong, tapos na yung utang mo. O, hindi na bago na ang batas. Ngayon, pagkatapos ng makulong, babayaran mo pa rin. At ang pinakabago na, latest na discover natin, sinacharge ka every day that you stay in jail. So, where does that put you? Every time I tell people, hey, hindi lahat ng utang masama. There is good debt and there's bad debt. Good debt means umutang ka in order to add more to your capitalization expenses so that you can grow and expand your business. Wala akong nakilalang negosyante na successful na walang utang. Pero yung pinakutangan niya, kikita na mas marami. Bad debt now is, pag nakutang ka, uy, meron tayo. Hindi pa ako nakapunta sa Disneyland. Alam mo yung pera, miskino siya na eh. Wala ba kayo napansin? Hawakan mo sa kamay mo yung pera. Ilapit mo sa tenga mo, may maririnig ka. Pakawalan mo ko, pakawalan mo. The money you borrowed is not yours. It is borrowed money. Borrowing money is not a privilege, it is an obligation. Next, constantly upgrading your electronic gadgets. Basang-basa ko yan eh. Pag August, ang unang maglalabas, Samsung. September, Apple. Lahat sila, the best smartphone ever. They've been saying that since 2007. At ang Pinoy, mahilig mag-upgrade ng gadget. Hindi naman alam yung features. Next, mahilig sa designer brand. 11 years ago, kasama ko yung mga kaibigan natin from Rich Red sa Monte Carlo, I'll never forget. Ang Pinoy kasi magaling mag-alaga. Yung inaalagaan niya, tumanda na at namatay. Walang kamag-anak. Nagmana ng 2 million euros. Lost it all in 2 years time. First year, he lost 1 million. Bakit? In-scam siya ng abogado niya. She fell in love. Kaya delikado to be in love with an abogado. Fell in love. The mind is not thinking. Puro ito. Next, what is the number one industry in Monte Carlo? Casino. Suddenly, she lives the high-flying lifestyle. At mahilig sa designer na hindi naman maintindihan. Kaya nag-joke ngayon yung mga kasama niya pabander na sabi na yan, mahilig sa designer. Ano ka, favorite mo? Louis Vuitton? Louis LV o ako? Anong favorite mo? Herbs. Buti ka, herbs. Ano yung sa'yo? Birds Ace. Ay, itong dala mo, Channel. She knows everything. And she's hiding again. Naglilinis na naman ng bahay somewhere in Italy. You see, it's not whether you have money or not. It's whether you can handle it. Whether you know how to manage it. Some tips. Dito kayo magbawas. Okay na ba? Number 1. Income minus savings equals expense. Luma na yung formula lang. Ito yung income ko, ito yung gastos ko, kung ano yung matitira, yun ang isi-save ko. Isa lang ang problema ko, walang natitira.
Kulang pa.
Live within your means. Have you ever heard people say you gotta live within your means? I hate that. It's incomplete. You have to raise up your means. You have dreams, I have dreams, you have aspirations, I have aspirations. Yung mga magagaling, they convert their time into cash. That's the beauty of Generation Z. They know how to do side hustle. They know how to convert their free time and then enter into what? Virtual assistants, tutoring, whatever. May namin pa ako. It's very rare that I joined Joey Concepcion's negosyo. So the rare time that I was there, I heard a 23-year-old girl who can't even speak straight English. Kumikita. Alam mo saan siya kumikita? TikTok live selling. Sabi na, pinademo siya. Aba, sabi ko itong batang to, she reminds me, yung dating nung araw sa Carrero, yung nagbebenta ng sapatos, yung nagsasalita. Sabi nga, ano mga itong sunod ko, sa small yan, bilisan nyo, ito. Hindi ko kaya yung ginagawa niya. But she knows how to turn her time into cash. Next, you gotta build an emergency fund. Nangyayari bang emergency sa buhay natin?
Yes.
Kung hindi man sa atin, sa ating mga kasama. So, one president of a insurance company says, the Filipino is just one hospitalization away from poverty. You have to have emergency fund. Yung mga millennials kung araw, ayaw niyan. Meron na nga silang YOLO. What is YOLO? YOLO. Meron pang FOMO. What is FOMO? Fear of missing out. Ayaw mag-build an emergency fund. When the pandemic happened, many of them wrote me, Sir, tama pala kayo. We need to have an emergency fund. Next, well, beware. Ito, Black Friday sale. It's coming, right? Hindi, ilalagay ko lang sa cart. I-add to cart lang yan. Pagkatapos, accidentally na-push niya. Next, hey, this is important. There's a difference between being rich and being wealthy. Rich is visible. That car that you have, that watch, that herbs that you carry, your diamond rings. Rich is visible, but you don't know. Utang pala yan. Hindi pa nababayaran. Now watch. There's only one car that I admire, a 2-year-old BMW that's owned by a Filipino motorist in LA. You know why I admire it? It's the only car na nakita ko. The plate number says, bayad na. Two more things. Develop your physical discipline. Don't abuse your body. Hindi lahat ng pinaghirapan mo, hindi mo naman inigamit ang katawan mo. So the day will come when you get sick, and all of your savings goes to your cardiologist, and meanwhile, you buy a new Mercedes-Benz. Life is unfair. Now that I'm at my age right now, I am enjoying my grandchildren and my family even more. You know why? I went to my doctor with my blood chemistry and everything, and my doctor flew me out of the clinic. He says, "You're the most boring patient I have. Get out of my Don't get into it. But let me share with you a very simple proposition. Remember the 3-2-1 rule. 3 hours before sleep, no food. Have you ever heard of before 6? That's too restrictive and then it makes you feel guilty. 3 hours before sleep, no food. Next, 2 hours before sleep, no work. You don't want to well up your anxiety and your brain. 1 hour before sleep, no screen. That's one thing I can't follow because we watch Netflix until we fall. Next, I'm a slave to vitamin supplements. Do you know how many supplements I take every day? I take about 15 pieces. Now, I have an advantage because I'm a brand ambassador for a very expensive supplement brand, so I have monthly allocation. But apart from that, I keep on buying vitamins. Kaya during the pandemic, I'm most exposed to people I meet thousands of people right after the opening of the economy. But the immune system is always there. It's very important. Next, you may not like what they're gonna hear from you. My wife and I, we don't take rice.
Right?
No rice. Kaya yung mga unlimited rice, there's no effect on us. And one more thing. Nagugulat yung mga friends ko eh. Yung picture ko eh. We only take 2 meals every day. So breakfast is very, very healthy. And then we haven't had lunch. But I'm hungry now. And lastly, develop your exercise. Think of nag-exercise pa rin. We're suffering a little bit from jet lag. Kaya unang tanong ko dun sa magandang hotel niya, and you should try that hotel. I'm a world traveler. When I say it's nice, I really. And so, ano ka ulit?
Are you gonna follow?
I'll test. Oh, yun. My first question when I'm checking the hotel is, do you have a gym? The 24/7 ang gym ngayon. So I'll hit the gym and I'll do it. During the pandemic, you do exercise sa bahay. But you gotta get moving. Important here. Did you notice something during the pandemic, during the quarantine period? Tumaas ang benta ng vitamin D complex because the nerves now, because if you don't move, then it's gonna hit you. And lastly, develop your spiritual and relationship discipline. Life is all about relationships. My friends, I have to let you know, many foreigners do not understand Philippines, especially from the West. They cannot understand why the typical Filipino will sacrifice their family, go and work in the scorching heat of the Middle Eastern desert sand, just to earn a few dollars so they can make their family survive. Am I right?
Yes.
Because the Filipinos love their family so much. Tama po ba?
Yes.
Marami ng pamilya. Dahil nag-sacrifice sila para sa pamilya, dahil mahal nila yung pamilya, papunta nila sa abroad, nagkakaroon na naman ng karagdagang pamilya. Shit, yourself. Because they love their family so much. You know why? It is important to stay faithful. 43 years, marriage. We're looking forward to celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary. And all of you are invited. Why? It is important because one day makikita mo si Francis at si Lydia. Nasa isang sulok na lang sa isang lumang bahay, makahawak ng kamay. And then asking the question, sino ba itong kasama ko? Do not compromise your integrity. Huwag mong sisirain yung only asset that you have. When you make a promise, you fulfill the promise. When you make a commitment, you fill up that commitment. Even to your own loss. Let me share with you what happened in my social media. Pinos Kef, I said, I am willing to lose money, but I'm not willing to lose my reputation and credibility. You know what comments from the younger people are? You're so stupid and dumb. Ang bobo niya naman. Pumapayag kayo, malugi kayo sa pera. And I said, these kids need a lot of values education. With that kind of a mindset, these kids will never go anywhere. Next is what about our spiritual relationship? It is very important because man is essentially made up of 3 facets: the body, the soul, and the spirit. If you have only 1 out of 3, it's still incomplete. If you have 2 out of 3, it's still incomplete. You gotta have 3 out of 3. That's why it's extremely important for me to have a private personal relationship with God. God has given us gifts. God has given you gifts. That's why, let me repeat, there is no such thing as an ordinary OFW love. In fact, they're so special, Jesus died for it. It is important to understand God has given us gifts, but never confuse giftedness with character. We have to develop our character. Last night I shared this, maybe it's time for me to share this again. Health is the new wealth. Peace is the new rich. Kindness is the new cool. You want me to repeat that?
Yes.
Okay, my daughter now. By the way, it's my daughter manning this. This is not artificial intelligence. Health is the new wealth. Peace is the new rich. I never expected one day I'm going to live to the day when I see that mental health becomes a big issue now. It is. So when your children, when the young people say they struggle with depression, don't dismiss that because that's very real. So, how do we manage relationships? By doing to others what you want others to do unto you. By showing respect. We may be different, but every person demands and requires respect. There is nobility to understanding that. And once you become progressive, maybe after today, who knows? You take it seriously. You work on your life. Maybe 3 days, 4 days later, you can join Kids Rainbow and stand up there and give your success stories. If you become successful, do not let success go to your head. Always be gracious to others. If you're not getting successful, do not let failure creep into your heart. Always understand, there's a summary that that's what life is all about. It is a combination of triumphs and tragedies. But what we become because of life is more important than what we have in our pockets and in our investment portfolio. And that's what it is. But we need to be reminded. That's why I'd like to encourage you. We discussed yesterday. I shared this with the embassy. So they have their training and everything. We just need to be reminded. Because if we are not reminded, we don't give our best. Do you agree? Yes. Let me give you an example. Raise up your right hand high. See? If you're not reminded, that's the best you can do. Stretch it higher. How come you didn't do that the first time? You can bring it down now, especially those without protection. Sometimes you need an arm of a friend shaking your shoulder and say, Father, you can do that. To remind you. Sometimes all you need is a book that jumps out of the page and says, hey, let me remind you, you can do it. Sometimes all you need is to listen to a boring speaker like me in a seminar like this and say, oh, I can do it. Sometimes all you need is a memorandum from the boss to remind you. But keep ourselves constantly reminded and expect the best. Maraming salamat po for
Thank you, Sir Francis, for the wisdom and knowledge na na-impart niyo sa amin. And of course,